Well, yes, we're joined now by Mr. Nwagwu, who is a public affairs analyst, but also the chairman of Partners for Electoral Reform. Thank you for coming on today.
Thank you.
Well, focusing on, we've seen some reports about our topic of discussion today, which happens to be this defection of lawmakers from one party to the other, and the possibility of what was going to happen when the House reconvened. But there's a court judgment which has said, look, just stay action till February 3rd, no change of leadership till then. And one of the headlines was saying, look, who will disobey court order? Maybe when they read this story, they'll actually see what exactly are they talking about. But this defection that is going on in the National Assembly, what do you think about, first, the implication of that? And let's start off with the implication on how they even came about this.
Well, I think it's there's some history around defection. You could just scale back to even the 50s. The AG, the NCNC saga, where some members of the national, the council, then NCNC, had to move to the Action Congress. Action Group, sorry. Action Group, and it had consequences. It had consequences. It's underpinned even the current relationship between followers of Zik and even those of Chief Awolowo who are still alive. That debate is still on as to what really happened. Some said the AG bought over the members of the NCNC and all of that. But if you followed the debate between Chief Ayo Adebanjo and late Mbu, it continued to recur. But coming down to our period, the People's Democratic Party had benefited immensely from defections.
In this democratic dispensation?
In this democratic dispensation, you could start from their governors. Ikede Ohakimi, if you remember, got his ticket under the PPA and moved to the PDP. Not just himself, with almost all the members of the House of Assembly, and it was exciting for everybody. The PDP lapped all of that up. You remember also the current governor of Bauchi State. He did not just marry into PDP, he also married the president's daughter, to cement that relationship. And the PDP lapped all of that up. And you would also, in the Senate, you've had Senator Ogunlewe, Adeshe Ogunlewe. He's moved from AD, if you remember. And it's been like that. Even the progressives themselves, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, they've all moved from AD to AC. So defection has lost its. It used to be what people will criticize in terms of saying, no, it's the progressives will say, look, it's you have sabotaged the platform that gave you. But now that it's a common decimal among everybody, I think that there seems to be no higher moral ground anymore to begin to make feuds.
Why do you think the PDP is making a fuss about this one, to the extent they're going to court to stop any further action, even wanting members to lose their seats?
Well, it's now very important to say that we're beginning to see a situation in which we'll have opposition. We'll have opposition leading an arm of government. And that in itself is sending shivers. But the contestation is about leadership. And then you ask if democracy is about majoritarian rule. If you have the majority, why will you be denied of leadership in a place in which number counts? And so that fear is about, and my sense is that nobody was born a Senate president. You are speaker. You are primus inter pares in the first instance. You are a prefect among your own colleagues, who decide to make you their leader. So if for reasons of number, there's a change. I think that change, if we truly have opposition, if it becomes truly opposition, then Nigerians will be in for truly what democracy is about, which is about that checks and balances.
But the thing is, politicians know about this history that you talked about, right from First Republic to date, how people have moved from one party to the other, even they themselves have benefited from it. So they're not unmindful of that yet. They're going to court. So this must be a strategy.
Going to court is don't do anything, don't change the leadership. I don't think they are in court about the right of people to defect.
In Sokoto, they are going to court saying, listen, those who have moved from one party to the other should vacate their seats.
It's of course necessary that I think we're in a democracy, and it's also important that the courts are able to resolve issues. That's why you have this.
The thing is, I mean, when members left their party to the People's Democratic Party at the time, they didn't lose their seats.
No, that's absolutely what I'm saying, that the PDP as it stands now, going to court, is immoral. Because you have that's the point that I'm making, is immoral, because you've benefited from this process in time past. You are still benefiting, really, because you swallowed up majorly most of the smaller parties just in our recent history. So to begin to worry now that there is a change that looks like it's going to be a vista of hope for serious democratic practice is what is worrisome to some of us.
I think for the fact that some mistakes, let's use the word now, has been made over time, doesn't really make it right, because lawyers will also argue that, well, for those you just talked about, these are governors, and the law doesn't actually say. I talked also
about members of Senate, and there are many.
Good. But for now, I think they're getting to say, okay, let's look at it for the first time. No one has actually raised any issue concerning those people. Maybe because of the unprecedented number of people we have seen move in a day, that is giving cause for people to now go back and say, let's look into the books and see if this is legal or not.
Suleiman, is about contest, is about leadership, is about who controls the leadership of the National Assembly in both houses. That's what the contestation is about. So they're not really bothered about the principles for which I and you are concerned about, cross-carpeting and all of that. Whether you want to now put up some jurisprudence that can explain it further, that's not what they are bothered about. The contestation is about power, is about who controls what, and you need to separate that. But in the Senate, for instance, I think that the whole noise came from when the Senate president said, look, he's going to wield the big stick or something like that. And I say, look, you can't do that because you are not the Senate. You are primus inter pares. If your colleagues, you can't even by yourself say you will stop people. The majority of your colleagues need to stand up to you and show you this history. That's the point that I'm making. That if the preponderance of benefiting from what you refer to as something a mistake, if you consider that is, if you have benefited in time past, now the challenge is that if we have opposition having the majority, you think you will lose your position. I would not want to side with you on that. That's the point that I'm making. I think if democracy is about majority, if it's about majority rule, then if in the House of Representatives you have opposition having the number, it's just important that you allow them to have their way. Is that not what we say? That majority will always have their way. So why now will you want to have the tyranny of the minority?
Because it's very possible that at the end of the day, we'll see a change of leadership in the National Assembly.
It's expected. I'm expecting that. And I think it's good for us. I think it's helpful. If truly, but then the caution here.
They resumed today.
Yes,
and you say you're expecting that. It looks like something is.
No, my expectation as a citizen is that I want to see a situation in which, honestly and truly, you have what I will call true opposition. Because you must also make this distinction. You can have opposition that is in character and content position. Because you have had it in some states where, for instance, the House of Assembly is not essentially in the same party with the governor, and they have behaved more like position than opposition. So that caution, so it is about the character, the content, the quality of the human beings eventually who will take over this opposition that I am bothered about. But if that happens, and I think that is interesting, it's something I look forward to.
Yes.